this hour. I'm Pep Philpott. U.S. President Donald Trump is spending a first night in hospital. He was flown to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Washington last evening. Just a precaution, say officials. Meanwhile, the number of positive COVID-19 cases linked to Trump is growing. Steve Futterman.
The president does have mild symptoms.
White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Those symptoms include fatigue and a low-grade fever. Some reports say the president also has chills and a cough. Before he left the White House, Mr. Trump made a brief video.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out.
Others with White House connections said late yesterday they too have COVID-19, including former advisor Kellyanne Conway and the Trump re-election campaign manager Bill Stepien. And there may be something connecting many of those testing positive.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Last weekend's announcement of Mr. Trump's new Supreme Court nominee. Now at least 7 people who attended the ceremony have COVID-19. And hanging over everything is the election 1 month from today and what impact Mr. Trump's condition will have on his re-election chances. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
Ontario's labs are struggling to process a backlog of COVID-19 tests. There are more than 90,500 people waiting for their results. That's the most since the outbreak began. As Philip Lee Shannock reports, the province plans to end long lineups outside assessment centres and address the testing backlog.
Lined up around St. Joseph's Hospital in Toronto's western downtown. On this chilly morning, some people were coughing and sneezing. Charmaine Garrick had been waiting for 4 hours.
There are people with children that have been standing around for the same amount of time.
Since the recent surge in new COVID-19 cases, there have been long lineups at assessment centres across Ontario. Premier Doug Ford says part of the problem is demand and wants people to think twice before getting tested.
We need to all work together. If you aren't showing symptoms, we're asking you, please don't go get a test.
But Garrick says that's easy to say, but even though she has no symptoms, her employer needs to see proof that she's tested negative.
It's a waste of time, but it's something that I have to do.
Ontario will move to an appointment-only system of testing to do just that. Starting tomorrow, assessment centres will not be accepting walk-in COVID-19 testing subjects. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto's iconic CN Tower is temporarily closed starting today. It's due to worries about rising COVID-19 cases in Ontario. Canada's Lands Company, which owns the tower, says the operations are suspended to, quote, help flatten the curve. India has passed a grim milestone. Authorities have now confirmed 100,000 people have died from the coronavirus. Only 3 countries face that level of death from COVID-19, the U.S., Brazil, and now India. September was India's worst month. On average, 1,100 people died every day from the virus. Madrid has become the first European capital to go back to lockdown. A police car on an empty street in downtown Madrid. The new restrictions started last night at 10 p.m. That's closing time now for restaurants and bars there. Over 3 million people living in Madrid can only leave their homes for essential business. Spain has recorded a total of 778,000 COVID-19 cases, more than any other Western European country. And on average, 78 people a day are dying from the disease. That's the highest level since early May. To New Zealand.
Secret ballot.
That's New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern casting her vote at an advance poll. The general election in New Zealand is not for another 2 weeks, but Ardern is encouraging voters to cast their ballots early over concerns about COVID-19 and large crowds on Election Day. And that is your World This Hour. For CBC News, I'm Pep Philpott.
From CTV News at 9:18 p.m. yesterday.
Hello, I'm Todd Vanderheyden from the CTV National Newsroom in Toronto. Here are the top stories we're following for you today. A political bombshell and an October surprise as President Donald Trump tests positive for COVID-19. The president's chief of staff says the White House expects it could see more COVID-19 tests in the coming days with different advisors. It's an open question how this positive diagnosis will affect the presidential election, now coming up in about 4 weeks from today. Meantime, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and his wife tested negative negative today for COVID-19. He had tested negative before this week's debate and was tested again after the president's positive diagnosis. Here in Canada, COVID-19 cases continuing to rise. Quebec is reporting 1,052 new cases, while Ontario recording a record-breaking 732. The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, says people in his province can only have close contact now with those living in the same household. Meantime, given the rising Canadian numbers, Prime Minister Trudeau is urging Canadians to wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance as much as possible as the federal, provincial, municipal governments coast to coast try to get the virus under control. And more changes are coming to the land border between Canada and the U.S. Government sources say restrictions banning non-essential travel are going to be extended until November the 21st, but the federal government is going to allow certain cases of family reunification, including for families to visit relatives who are dying. For all the day's top stories, breaking news as it happens, watch us on CTV News Channel or go online to ctvnews.ca. I'm Todd Vanderheiden. Have a great day.
I will, Tom.
From CNBC Tech Check at 4:21 p.m. yesterday.
Yeah. Would have had a good day otherwise.
I'm Josh Lipton with your CNBC Tech Check. Amazon says more than 19,000 of its U.S. frontline employees have tested positive for COVID-19. That's about 1.5% of its total workforce, but does not include the company's delivery drivers. Amid scrutiny from labor groups, Amazon has added temperature checks, social distancing measures, and other safety procedures at its facilities. The company has also started its own testing lab to screen workers and plans to ramp up capacity to 50,000 tests per day by November. 139,300. That's how many vehicles Tesla delivered this past quarter, smashing its previous record of 112,000. The electric car maker also topped analyst projections, which expected Tesla to deliver 137,000 cars. The big sellers over the past 3 months, the Model 3 sedan and Model Y crossover SUV, which made up nearly 90% of all deliveries. Tesla says it is aiming to deliver more than 500,000 vehicles in 2020. That would be an increase of nearly 40% versus last year. And Activision Blizzard has delayed the release of World of Warcraft Shadowlands, the newest entry in its hit video game franchise. Activision says the pandemic has slowed the build-out of the game, which was initially set to launch at the end of October. The company declined to give a new release date, but said it does not expect the delay to materially impact its 2020 financial results. That's all the news from the West Coast. We'll see you back here on Monday.
From DW News Brief at 2 a.m. today.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. U.S. President Donald Trump has been transferred to a military hospital after testing positive for COVID-19. The Marine One helicopter brought him to the Walter Reed Medical Center, where he's expected to remain for several days. White House officials said he has been suffering mild symptoms, and it was only precautionary measure. Madrid has entered a new partial lockdown amid a surge in coronavirus cases. Millions in the Spanish capital and 9 nearby towns are only allowed to leave their districts for essential activities such as work or medical care. Madrid is currently Europe's worst infection hotspot as cases rise across the continent. Hundreds have turned out for fresh protests in the Indian capital Delhi after an alleged gang rape victim died of her injuries this week. Her family says she was cremated without their consent in the middle of the night. Protesters accuse authorities of trying to hush up the crime. This is DW News from Berlin. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DW News or visit our website, dw.com.
Oh, was she the indigenous lady?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Had she, caught them on recording, just fucking saying some disgusting shit.
Really? Is that recording public?
I think so, yeah.
Take a look, because I remember seeing, something of that. Oh, there we go.
Damn, good.
There you go. Good for schmooties.
Tarragon. It's one of my favorite words too.
Tarragon?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's pretty tight words?
If we name our next pet something, we'll name it Tarragon. Can you stop looking at me like that, please? I got yoga to do, alright?
Stop,
Baby. This channel's PG-13. I know. Guys, welcome to Quick YOGS. That's all we're gonna be doing. I just wanted to take off the shirt because, like how sexy I am. Anyway, noodle, don't noodle, past, present. That's why it's a gift. We're all doing it wrong, but this is Quick YOGS, that's why. And I will see y'all